It's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show, our Brews Day edition, coming back at you alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Ryan Brewer is in the house. Since I was told last week I did it wrong, even though I'm quite certain I didn't. Ryan Brewer is a former Gamecock running back, wide receiver, punt returner, special teams gunner, team captain, husband, father, business owner, soccer parent, traveler of back roads to get to soccer tournaments. Scarer of children.
I think that's his favorite title
that
right
is.
there. That's
Start
the one
with
he's
that
waiting for.
I
I think frightener of children actually sounds more.
I'm just trying
ominous.
to bring death and chaos.
Death and chaos.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying
even the fear of death and chaos to small children, because they got to learn one day.
And you know, it's
Part of
ironic.
life.
On Ryan today is wearing the Shane Beamer quote, "Find some joy."
So the guy wearing the Find Some Joy shirt is like, I'm here to bring death and chaos.
college kids or
Now, are these
around
people
there.
that were crashing your seats and they just thought they could sit somewhere? Or?
They thought they were in the student section.
Okay.
By how they were acting.
Okay.
Which I was all for. I'm all for. But one of them in particular was speed something. He was on something. Shot of adrenaline.
Oh, my.
And to the point that we were having.
Hopefully just a 5-hour interview.
We were having bets if he's going to make it the whole game. Like he just the whole time just screaming, yelling, which was, he's all in.
All right, that's
the whole
good.
time. Now,
Sure.
come third quarter, he was in, not fetal position, but hands over his head, crouched down a little bit, just because of what was going on with the game. But also, I could tell it went down. The energy was going way down. But come fourth
Why
quarter.
didn't you buy that kid a Coke, man?
Fourth quarter, it was on. He was jumping in my arms, hugging. I had red and black paint all over me. I was whipping him around. It was like, this is that final touchdown. I mean, I stepped up a seat or an aisle, and so I was two now behind him.
Yeah, okay.
And he jumped over one to get in my arms
Nice.
so I could swing him around.
So this is like your new best friend.
I don't know who he is, but yes.
Do you know his name?
No clue. He
Where
had the
he's
Beamer
from?
glasses on too from the
Okay,
swag video. But these guys were bringing the noise and bringing the heat.
Oh, that's good.
They caused two of those penalties on to back them up there for the
All right.
drive.
I mean, you've been a Gamecock a long time. I realize I did not play for the Gamecocks like you did, at least as far as you know. But I've also been around here a long time. So
We just had a conversation out there about you getting tickets and stuff.
I don't like telling that story. But how nervous were you with 1:15 on the clock and Missouri had just hit a 2-point conversion?
I was very nervous, but I also looked. So there's time and 3 timeouts.
Yeah.
So like the pause, I'm still going to be an optimist. I'm always going to be an optimist. But at the same time, we did have some people that said I'm out, which gave me more room to
that's
celebrate.
nice.
That's why I was able to swing this kid around
Without kicking people.
Do you know the
without
people
hurting
that
anybody.
left?
They had someone on the dance team, I believe.
Okay.
But so they're always there. They're actually regulars, but they probably went somewhere else and watched it.
Okay.
They just couldn't sit there.
The 3 timeouts part, actually, I will admit, was sort of a, what's the word term here? Saving grace, maybe? Like you just, all right, there's opportunity.
It made you have some optimism of what was happening. And there's, believe it or not, we're pretty good when we're running a 2-minute drill. End of most halves have been crazy this all year. End of most games that we've done fairly well when it comes to moving the ball. I mean, that's something I think every the first half here was another
Right.
Time management was unbelievable, and we did a great job of that, and then moved the ball down and got what we needed to do. So it's there was some optimism there, knowing, hey, we can do this. Now at the same time, you're thinking Missouri's going to pin their ears back and just be all over Sellers, and our O-line decided to step up.
Yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, your seats are towards the north end zone on the west side, right?
Yeah, 3.
So you basically had a fantastic view of the final play.
Great view of the final play.
Yeah.
I said,
Did you want to leap over the wall?
I couldn't because this kid jumped in my arms.
So you were
I
going
want to throw him over the wall with me. So, no, it was amazing. Just the drive itself, and then having Campbell, come up with some big plays that, and I'm going to be honest, I had to look over and say, who the hell is that guy?
Well, he hadn't. Like Elijah said, you think he crashed into the hedge in the north end zone one time, but he actually crashed into the the big thick metal gate or a fence that's back there. So
yeah,
so he was a little banged up for a while.
But it was just a drive, and I think that was one of the coolest parts is having some receivers that were haven't done anything all year.
Well, the Brady Hunt,
Brown and Hunt,
after the another escape from Lenoris, Elijah and I talked about it yesterday. Hunt giving that extra little oomph to get that first down.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't had a catch all year, so let's catch the ball and not only just fall down. Let's go ahead and push 2 guys to get a first down. Know where the sticks are and get a first down. It's just the things that just added. As like if you really go back and look at that type of stuff, like this is one that Missouri. Now again, Missouri played a hell of a game.
They played very well.
Missouri did not play like that all year.
Right.
For some reason, they come to Williams-Brice and decide to, hey, let's play football.
I know.
Let's play football with a quarterback that has one wrist wrong, one foot wrong, whatever. He has a leg, he has an arm. You got the receivers. Burden hadn't done crap all year. All right, let's go ahead and let's try to make some big time play. They stepped up and played. Their defense played unbelievable. Blue Label came. He was awesome out there.
Right.
He just couldn't take down Sellers. So
I know you probably can't put this into words too much, but I'm going to ask you to anyway. And that is that final touchdown, because I think all of us have probably gone back and watched it so many times now, and it's just boom, bang. You got Batman, pow. The old cartoon, but you've been in that spot where, all right, I have to score. Like there was no plan B. There was no alternative. I realize that we all say you want to give maximum effort all the time, and humanly that's just probably not possible. But in a sense of what Raheem Sanders was doing right there, what goes through an athlete's mind?
They still had time, but with the play call coming in there, and especially that play, that's one of screens, draws, delays. I love them, especially when you're a slower back. Type guy. It's just you can see a lot more vision-wise. Now, this play, you turn your back, and when he made that first initial cut, broke the tackle, but when he jumped and got hit, you never leave both feet. You just don't. That's normal. That's not even how he normally runs. Normally, he's always giving one leg and taking one away. He left both feet. I think once he made contact and landed, I think his mind's like, I'm scoring. They can't stop me. Like, that's when you're like, oh, crap, they can't. They got nothing on me. And just bam, 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 I'm running everybody over. And I think he was just one of those moments. I'm telling you, once that contact there is like, there's nothing's going to stop me now. And that happens. There's times where you're running the ball and you break that first initial tackle and you're like, oh, these guys, I feel invincible,
right? Type
deal. And I'm breaking everything. And I'm sure that was going through his head. There's no one stopping him. And that flex is probably the biggest flex he ever had. I was after throwing the kid away from me, I'd start flexing with him. So it was just awesome. The feeling was awesome. The crowd was electric. It was the moment. I've been a part of a lot of big games, playing and watching them, and that was one of the top ones there.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the zone that Rocket was in on that play, I think, is like indicative of how Lenoris felt the entire game. Because with the exception of the fumble that he recovered and then the interception, I mean, you take that out, I think that was a perfect game. I mean, I think that might be as good of a game as you could possibly imagine for someone like him. And Jay and I talked about it a lot yesterday in terms of, like, is this like kind of like a coming out party for Lenoris? And I think I kind of settled on, like, this is him proving to you he can win you a football game when plan A and plan B go out the window.
I mean, number one thing we always say, let our defense eat. Let them win the game. Guess what they didn't do? They weren't winning this ball game.
Yeah, that was plan A. Out the window.
That's out the window. And that's where Missouri did what they did a great job of figuring out. They found some kinks in our defense's armor. They did. They found it out, which is, something else we'll talk about later. But then you have, the running game. Let's go ahead and let's put our shoulder on Rocket, because he's breaking tackles left and right. Guess what? We couldn't run the damn ball. We couldn't. Their defensive front was they were stellar. They stuck us. They had, like I said, Blue Label Johnny Walker was coming in and making tackles left and right. He was a stud. You had so that's out the window. So let's go to our redshirt freshman quarterback and see if he can back it up from what he's done. He didn't just back it up. He said, just give me the ball and I'll take care of it. He took care of business. Like you said, he had an interception, the fumble he got back himself. He had one short throw. He just, kind of there, and maybe some throws here and there that weren't perfect. But everything else was. I mean, and again, other receivers coming out to play, hey, let me shine too. When Brown, I mean, I felt the relief on that screen that Brown, when he scored, when he didn't even know what to do. His body's flaring. He didn't know what to do, because I finally got my chance. I showed everybody what I can do, and I got in the end zone. And that right there is just like I got to scream everything that's been going through my mind out right then at that moment. And he had a hell of a game.
He did, and we talked about it yesterday too. And again, you can relive this and tell us. But I mean, when he got to I don't know the 15-ish yard line, just he kind of Usain bolted it there, just found an extra gear and just he was just through.
Yeah, and that's where it's like in that just then on the sideline you can see everyone coming to him. That's where I like this. I like watching the sideline.
Right.
I mean, obviously I'm watching the game, but who's talking to who's coming, and when everyone's coming to you and giving you your attaboys or cookies for what you did, that, hey, man, that it meant a lot more, not just to him, but the whole team to see him do that. And then hats off to freaking Harbor, dude.
Yeah.
Not just the one catch was a blown coverage, and I was sweating.
Right.
Kind of just
that was right in front
gave
of
him
you.
A lot of air under that ball, give him time to think about it.
Right.
Just give me the damn ball.
Right.
I don't need it. I don't need that soft touch. Just give me the ball.
Right.
And when you got a corner blitz, safety, I don't know what he was doing out the lunch. Decided
he bit for 1 second, and that was all.
It wasn't even a good play fake.
No.
Like, what do you just? Oh, I forgot what I was doing there.
Yeah.
But that wasn't it. It was the blocking. The one holding call on Brown's jet sweep reverse was he pancaked the dude. Now his hand was a little outside, but he got leverage on him and lifted him up and put him on the ground. But he was blocking like a madman out there, is catching the ball, and he probably ran 30 go routes, like just blowing the top off coverage,
Right.
just to stretch the defense. And that's why all the underneath was going, because guess what? He caught a couple.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden everyone's got to respect it, and now that's why all of a sudden these crossing routes coming, and with the O-line giving Sellers time, it's pretty to watch. We got some football plays going on.
Yeah. Lots more from Ryan's perspective on what happened in the Mizzou game. We'll start talking about Wofford. We'll start talking about Clemson as well. We can look ahead to both. Obviously, we'll do that for you. And I want to take him in the Wayback Machine one more time and see what he compares Saturday night to. He knows. I bet he knows without saying. Don't say it. But I bet you know the game in question that I'm talking about. But we'll get into all those things for you throughout the course of the afternoon. You can be a part of the program, of course, 803-404-6100 on the phone line, the Firehouse Subs text line. Hit us on Twitter, 1075 The Game, J. Phillips 1075, E_Campbell 3, Ryan 21 Brewer. There will be a test later on all the contact information. There's a bunch up there.
And do not fail it.
That's right. That's right. But plenty more to do on this Brews Day edition of the Postgame Show. Holiday season upon us, gathering family and friends around that holiday fire, a long-time family tradition and holiday tradition. And now Palmetto Propane is ready to help you upgrade the fireplace. Maybe you're tired of the maintenance of a wood fireplace. Listen, I know there's nothing like it, but there's also, a lot to like about low maintenance. And when you get into the Hearth and Patio Home Store showrooms, they've got propane and natural gas fireplaces that really can show you what it's like to have that in your home every day. Stress-free, right? Installation, service, all done by our friends at Palmetto Propane. They've been doing it since 1959. They know what's up. Maybe you want outdoor fire features or things to keep you warm out there, or a Renai tankless water heater, grills, accessories. They've got the home store showrooms in Batesburg, West Columbia, Lexington, Augusta, and over in Aiken as well. Always online too, palmettopropane.com, delivering propane to homes and businesses and so much more since 1959. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Tuesday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell, Ryan Brewer in the house for our Brews Day visit. We do it every Tuesday during the course of the football season, which means we only have a couple of them left, man. Just flying right by after 10 weeks of football.
Miss you guys.
No, you're not. But it's nice that you said so. I appreciate it. Elijah, appreciate it. Did you hear Coach Beamer make sure that Elijah and his friends didn't go to jail this weekend?
Yeah, what kind of boys' night out is that? Can you even call it a boys' night out if no one goes to jail?
It's successful because you didn't get caught. That's the thing. The plan is to be debaucherous and not get caught.
Savvy.
I thought you just keep stepping up higher and higher.
It is. You do step up higher and higher without getting caught. And you know what? With the crew that we brought along, that was one in question. There was a question that, I might have to set some money aside to bail someone out if need be. I was prepared.
That is always a good, it's a good boys' night when you're saving money to bail someone out of jail. Like that's, hey, everyone start a kitty now because we're gonna have boys' night in a couple months, and save whatever it is. That's good.
One of my friends did prank call me though when I was leaving the stadium. He was like fake crying. He's like, Elijah, I think I need you to get me out of jail. And it got me for 30 seconds. It got me for 30 seconds because I was like, oh great. I was like, I knew we were gonna get to this point. But then he goes, I'm just kidding. Where you at right now? You left the stadium yet?
No, you should have kept going with it for sure.
Yeah, he should have. But he got me for a little bit. Like it was really.
Well, and Elijah's brother was here, so I mean, you would have had to pay for your brother to get out of jail.
I would have absolutely had to. Yeah. And then when I got a call from my mother, and it would not have been very pleasant.
Right.
If that were the case. So.
Yeah, even though he's like, 25, you're supposed to look after your little brother.
Still have to, yeah. He is 26 years old. And I still, I would be the one that'd get more in trouble than he would. That's
for him
family.
getting arrested.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I would be on the hook for that. I do have a video of him absolutely going hard during Sandstorm, though.
That's good.
He had a blast.
Yeah, that's good, man. That environment is it'll get you. It'll pull you right in.
I got a text in our group text between the four of us, the three that went and me, just during the break. Actually, said, "What are the home games for next year?"
Nice.
So I gave him the rundown.
That's one of the, it's like I look at it and say, man, it'd be great to blow out Missouri. It'd be great to blow these teams out, but you wouldn't get that same feeling. I mean, the end of that game was so euphoric. It was so awesome that you won't have that feeling if you did beat them by 20, 50, whatever, even 2 touchdowns.
All right, well, I said I was going to come up with something, so I'll just go ahead and do it now then, because that game the other night is going to go down as one of the great late comeback wins. I will measure a lot of them against 0-1 Alabama. Down 12 with 8 minutes to play. And you could just tell from Phil's body language that y'all weren't going to lose. Now, you were down there, so...
Yeah, that's one of those, like I said, you can talk about Phil's body language, but you can look in the huddle and look at everybody in the huddle and be like, hey, we got this. We're fine. And when you're calm, when you're down, you're like, we're okay. And then you have a stud tight end at Rod Trafford who's, one catch, 1 touchdown.
Right.
That's when you're 100%. And you're against Alabama that's just
take us through that. I mean, and I say Phil. I mean, just like with Lenoris, you've got to look to your quarterback. Eric's fade, right? I mean, even if that wasn't what Eric was supposed to be doing all the time. We have those moments, but down 2 scores that late, like when you had to make your first score, where just put us back into what Phil was telling you all more than
you still got to do your job.
Yeah,
like that's the biggest thing about it. You're not, the fans, they can leave, they can get all amped up, they could. Chew their nails off. I got to still do my job out there. I got to go out there and do whatever plays. It's up to the coaches. What is Skip calling? What are we calling in here? And when he calls it in there and you have confidence in the play call, that's now I got to go out there and beat my man or whatever zone, whatever it is, and do what I'm supposed to do. So there's really nothing different that you're doing besides maybe at a little bit better pace when it comes to, hey, we're breaking the huddle, we're going no huddle, whatever, depending on how much time you have. So you're really just playing football. Now that's the crazy. You can break as many tackles and what like Rocket did and do that kind of stuff. Right. That's the little extra effort.
Right.
But it's really, hey, what did Loggins call? What did Skip call?
Yeah.
What are they doing there? That's where a lot of credit goes to Sellers and Rocket and those guys making plays and and all. But Campbell, everybody. But guess what? That OC decided to draw some ball plays up to get us down there that fast and get us in the end zone. So you have confidence in your coaches and what you're doing, and you have confidence in yourself. It doesn't. Hey, you just call a play. I'm going to do what the hell I got to do,
right?
And I'm going to do it at my best ability. And I'm going to try. If I got to know I got to break tackles and get out of bounds, you got to know situations too. Like you said, Rocket. Hey, I got to score on this play. Well, technically didn't have to. We had 20 seconds left or whatever it was, 22 seconds. But at the same time, he sniffs the end zone.
Yeah, I'm scoring now. Yeah. I'm scoring now. Right.
So, I mean,
right.
it's a feel.
I do think there's something to it, and that is Eli Drinkwitz seeming to step it up, whatever it is, when it comes to South Carolina. You know, we joked about Bill Gunner and I last week did our TV show, and Bill was like, I don't know if, like somebody that from South Carolina broke his heart, or if he wanted to work for Steve Spurrier and he was told he couldn't or he didn't need, something is out there. But it's hard to quantify it. And yet, I'm with you. Yeah, and because again, they did. Missouri played their best game of the year, and they lost.
Not even close.
Right.
Now, again, they were 7-2, but they weren't. That was the best I've seen them play. Watching multiple games, coming through, and I was like, this is especially coming out at halftime. Yeah. Now the first half, they had some they kicked some field goals they probably shouldn't have. He goes back and probably looks at that second half as well. But that second half, they came out, third quarter came out and just absolutely dominated us. And I was like, oh, he's figured us out. And he did. Defensively,
he did figure it out.
He figured it out.
There's no question.
Again, I go to the kinks in the armor, and I'm like, is this a good thing? Well, it's great. They can learn on and figure out what maybe Clemson's going to do, in 2 weeks type deal. But it's also you got exposed. So it's time that defense got to mentally, hey, you are still our best asset we have, but it wasn't against Missouri. So prove it against Wofford, then prove it against Clemson.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing, too, because, even the players after the game talked about how that outside zone run scheme gave them a lot of trouble. They had a lot of imbalanced formations, and pretty much it just felt like every running play for Missouri was a race to the corner, and Nate Noel's fast enough that he oftentimes will win that race to the corner. Is that something that – Missouri does that to everybody. That's their whole run scheme.
Noel coming back was big, too.
Was big,
I mean, he's quick, and he hits that whole, going 100 miles per hour right away. But, yeah, the outside zone and the stretch on us, especially when you have the DNs that are getting upfield so fast, we're not walling it off. When you go, you have to wall it off and then chase from the backside when you're doing the outside zone. And we were getting upfield with our ends. And if you're a tackle, you're like, thank you. You go wherever you go, I'm going to put. If you decide to go inside, I'm going to knock you inside, and it will still be able to bounce it out. You go upfield, I'm going to knock you outside. We're going to go cut inside of you, but then we're going to bounce out.
So I think that's what happened a lot. They're trying to, because a lot of it felt like they're just going to the quarterback. I saw Dylan Stewart where Brady Cook was, but by the time he got to Brady Cook, Nate Noel is near the sideline.
So yeah, we have no outside leverage now. So now our inside guys, or D tackles, or whoever the shades are there, they have to be the outside leverage, and they're getting sucked in too, and just left huge holes. Yeah. That and I'm nowhere near as fast as Noel, but I would love those holes as well. So I mean, they're huge. So we gave them opportunities to get upfield, and the first guys that's touching them is our safety or even a corner sometimes, and that's not great.
Yeah, is that easy to implement though? For someone, let's say you're Clemson, and you don't do a lot a outside zone like that, but you see that on tape, and you're like, oh, yeah, they did that.
Everybody
to perfection.
Does that. Yeah, I mean that's a run. Everyone has that as a package that's coming in. So. The issue now is, again, it's always a chess match with defense and offense coordinators, what's going on. And you see sometimes you're doing run blitzes versus, where your twists are, and you can twist into it and just blow it up. Or you could stop, you're not rushing, your outside guy comes in. There's a ways to stop it. But when you're going for your DN's putting his ears back and going to rush the quarterback, because a lot of times it was on 3rd and 3 or 3rd and manageable, but it was still maybe an iffy. We thought it might be a pass down, and they just burned us on it. And, it's you're picking and choosing some battles, and we lost a lot of those battles.
Lots more to do with Ryan as we continue to break down the Missouri game. We'll start talking about Wofford and the Clemson game as well. And I'll throw out our poll question as we hit the break so y'all can think about this. I threw this one out a little bit earlier. This is not so much about the Gamecocks as it is just everybody in the SEC. But a lot of chatter with the CFP announcement tonight about 8 games versus 9 games in conference play and things like that. So I ask the notion that SEC schools playing 8 conference games makes their schedule more manageable than the Big 10 or Big 12 is A, accurate, B, plausible, C, ridiculous, D, whatever, just play 9 or 10. Those are your choices. One of these is way out front of the other 4. Or the other 3. We'll come back and discuss more on our Brews Day edition of the Postgame Show. We talked about the holidays and the fireplaces earlier. Now I'm talking about the holidays and like the fake fireplaces. And what I mean by that is, sometimes you want to get one of those on your TV and make it look really good. Well, you can do it with integrated media, all right? But listen, I imagine that the faux fireplace, not at the top of the list, Elijah Campbell, for what you want to use your television for. But, hey, it can matter.
I mean, that's a backdrop I like.
Sure.
Put it over the fireplace.
I love those things.
If I walk into a house that has that, I'm like, you've got it going on.
Yes.
You're making good money.
Good. So what if you want a really beautiful faux fireplace or, watching football better than ever? Your favorite holiday comedy better than ever? A parade with those big giant balloons? Or the Carolina Band marching in New York next week?
They're going to be there.
803-948-8327. There is no better home theater company around than Integrated Media. Talking Gamecock football, getting Ryan Brewer's take on the thriller over the Missouri Tigers, 34-30. We've been discussing on and off air whether or not Eli Drinkwitz really does seem to take the South Carolina game more seriously than any other on the Mizzou schedule. I'm voting yes. I mean, we were just
talking to how they played.
Well, so Ryan and I were just talking. Like, I watched a large chunk of their Auburn game. I watched a pretty good bit of the Bama game, and I've seen plenty. And I always watch highlights. But I've the Vandy game. But
They seem to get lucky in the majority of those games. They did not play anything as well as they did.
Yeah, like they should not have beaten Auburn or Oklahoma, you know, and yet they come to Columbia and play. Again, they absolutely played their best game. I think Eli believes they played their best game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've all watched a lot of Missouri this year, and I'm not going to count, like Murray State or Buffalo as like their best games, because you should beat them by 50 or 30 points or whatever it was. Ironically enough, both those coaching staffs featuring former Gamecock coaches. Yeah. Take that as you will. Those also were some of their best games this year. So maybe he's got it out against like the entire South Carolina coaching staff, anyone that's ever had any affiliation with the University of South Carolina. But other than those two non-conference games, because they didn't look great against Boston College either.
No,
that was their best game of the year. I can't be convinced otherwise.
Yeah, it's weird.
They made plays. There's no doubt about it. Now I know he's kicking himself with some of the play calls or the kicking the field goals and stuff like that. Maybe down the stretch, but they made some ball plays. Those guys played harder than even Luther Burden. He hadn't played like that all year.
No,
and that's every time he plays against us, he comes out shining, and it's just something's going on. But guess what? They didn't come out on top this time.
Well, I told Ryan we got SEC Network on one of the TVs on in here, and they were showing a promo for the Mississippi State-Missouri game, and it showed Luther's touchdown from the other night. And I was like, man, he should have gone out of bounds right there. And Ryan was like, nah, he didn't either.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. It was a great play.
One he had a catch, a great coverage. Yeah. I mean,
perfect throw, too. I mean, he basically dropped that into the bucket of that one arm right there. I don't know if it could have been a better throw.
I don't think it could have. I really don't. And you'd like Kilgore to have maybe just turned a little bit, because that was a fourth down play, right?
That's 4th and 5.
Yeah. So, you just find
4th and 5. The last thing you're thinking is, hey, they're going to run a fade on me, too.
Right.
But he was right in his hip.
Because the Saints did that against the Panthers.
With what Dowell is doing, I don't believe Dowell is getting nearly enough public credit for the job he's doing. Both phases, the development of Lenoris Sellers and then the management of the game. So I'll just kind of open that's my jumping off point to you.
All right. So I think what Dow can do if there's a clean pocket with Lenoris Sellers as quarterback is anything he wants to. I think he's like a kid in the candy store going, if they can block for him, he knows that this quarterback can make plays. He's finding the open guys. The touch he had on passes, what do you call it, deft touch, whatever.
Deft touch, yeah. It was, not to be confused with Daft Punk, but it's close.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, he had a moment too. He's getting better, and as I said, every game, every day, get better. And I think this guy is getting better and better, and I'm so excited to see what will happen, not just the next 2 games, but in the future for him. But it's all predicated on, and I say it's because of the O-line, but heck, most of his best plays are when he gets sacked in the backfield where they're already calling it on air, but yet he breaks free and makes a crazy play, and that's where the Superman comes out of him. But when he's just being a quarterback, he's a hell of a quarterback. Mm-hmm. When he's being Superman, he's Superman. I mean, he can do it all. And the fact that early in the season we're like, man, he's run the ball. How many times he run the ball in the? It was like
20 plus times in that first game. Almost 30
times in the first game. Like this can't happen. We can't have and that was because we didn't have the O-line. We didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, everything's progressing. Everything's getting better, and you can see if you're an OC, and especially what Dow's thinking is like, I got the playbook went from this little tiny 3-script thing to I can do whatever I want, and the players now you can tell they're not out there thinking, they're just playing football, and I think it's showing, and they're growing and at a really rapid pace right now.
When you see that kind of progression as well. We had a caller yesterday talk about rolling him out and hitting that the touchdown.
That was one to Michael Smith.
Yeah, with about 5 minutes to go. Just little plays like that. And again, I'm trying in a positive way to compare and contrast to Satterfield's years, and I don't mean to dump on Marcus too much, but it felt like here's the whole playbook. And I know you and I did this years ago, and then narrowing it down, simplifying whatever term, I don't always like that term, but it's been, and you even alluded to this. I remember in our conversation last week, the foundation was built. Now, all right, where we take those things. Again, through the mind of a young player, what does it feel like when more is put on you? And I guess I ask that in a good way, in terms of like your own level of confidence.
It's also, Coach, I can accept. It can come in. Go ahead, put it on me. Right. I know this now by like the back of my hand. I know what I can do. You're watching film, and he's rattling off like, hey, this is the coverage. What do you do here? What are you looking for? What's your ones? What's your twos? What's your this? And if he's rattling it back to you, which I don't think which I've heard, he's not a very talkative guy in the room, but he knows this crap. He knows what's going on. But you can even talk with the Michael Smith touchdown. He knows the reads, progressions. He buys himself time, rolling out to the right just to get that good angle, fires it in there, perfect pass, good catch, touchdown. It's just stuff like that. It becomes second nature to him.
Right.
And so if you're calling a play and you know the quarterback he's going to do the right stuff when it comes to the steps, all the little things, that's going to happen. But now, if something breaks down, he knows where to move, where the routes are going, what the combinations are, and how the scramble drill is going to work out. It's so easy. But I think he's just mentally so much better now, knowing the playbook, knowing what's going on, and just not even thinking, because it's just going through the progressions. I know exactly where everybody's going to be, and that's reps too. They're getting a lot more reps, and then it's just knowing the game and feeling the speed of the game.
And for this whole offense too, I think what you put on tape on Saturday shows that you can stop the run game, but there's still so much more to account for, which is why it was so big that someone like Dale Von Campbell in 2 big spots had those 2 catches that you don't win the game without. And Nick Harbor made 2 plays in this game you don't win the game without. And those are some like vertical passing game type things that we really weren't expecting a lot at the beginning of the year. And then when, of course, you win those games against Vanderbilt and A&M, you do so because you're just running the ball so efficiently. But what is that going to do, I guess, now that you put that on film? Other defensive coordinators are watching that and saying, okay, well, we can go all out to stop the run. But, my God, there's a lot more we have to account for with some of these receivers.
You just have to respect it because it comes to, hey, at first we have to stop the run. The screen game is pretty daggone good lately, and you got number 6 to worry about. And then if you man-to-man everybody else up, because the receivers, these guys aren't catching the ball at all. So we can do that. We know where the ball is going to go 90% of the time. It's a little bit easier for defense. One game isn't a huge, I don't know if it's going to keep happening. There's only 2 games left, but it puts enough respect on there going, all right, but now we got to make sure that Harbor, all these go routes aren't just clearing routes. Because you can tell sometimes the DB's like, oh, here he goes again. I'm just going to stay, tail him a little bit. They're not going to throw the ball to him. It's just, I know that if I go a couple 15 yards, I got to turn around and make a tackle or the play's already gone. Not anymore. The ball's, could be, and he was open a couple more times too. One Sellers got pressured on. If he didn't get pressured, he had a crossing route to a post route, that he could drop on him for another 60-yard gain. But it just changed the whole philosophy defensively, where I have to respect all those receivers, which is even the screen to Brown as that's something we haven't run.
Yeah,
it's like just putting a little bit of wrinkles in there, and they're successful. They're not just gimmick plays and things like so. We just got to worry about this. No, we're scoring all these things because our receivers outside are blocking now. Our tight ends are blocking, and our O-line really likes to pull and get upfield and hit people. It's like I think that's might be the most fun they have.
Yeah, and you mentioned what Harbor. We talked about that a lot early in the season. Is you can't use him as a decoy more than a couple of times because really at any level, but especially at this level, they'd be like, hey, listen.
Well, he got his couple catches.
Right.
He was used as a decoy a lot.
Yeah.
More than a couple. I'm talking. I sat in the stands going, God, he's got to be tired. He ran 5 go routes in a row.
Right.
It was either a post or a fade in a row. Didn't get the ball, but he created so much space because they had to run with him. But he just, all right, I'm go back in.
Right.
I'm going to run it again.
Well, eventually it's coming.
And got some pass interference was huge. All the things that when he gets by him, they got to. He doesn't. The crazy part doesn't look that fast because his strides are so long.
Yeah.
But these guys can't keep up with him.
Yeah. It's going to be I want to. You just hit on something too about these next 2 weeks, so I'll use that as our next spot here. Lots more to do in the final segment on Brews Day. It's the postgame show. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of our first hour here. A lot of sound to get to.
Work that you need, railings, columns, custom work, we can do it. RyanBrewer.net. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. But we can pretty much do anything for your backyard and commercial work out there for you.
Neighbors are very happy.
That's what we try to do, build good neighbors.
Yeah. So that's good.
Secure is beautiful. It's the hashtag on Instagram.
RyanBrewer.net. And the wall art.
Yeah.
And the
Wall art,
mailbox.
we got a new bunch of
gift
stuff in.
ideas.
So, yeah, I can't remember. Golly, Christmas is almost here.
It is.
Yeah, so if you want some, you want to get those quick because they go fast. So any of the welcome home stuff or any of the wall art that you see online.
One more time.
For you.
Website.
RyanBrewer.net is where you can go.
What if I wanted like a autographed photo of you scoring a touchdown in a football game? Can I do that at RyanBrewer.net?
I mean, you could ask. I'm sure we figure it out. You bring in the picture, I'll sign it. I don't, yeah.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. That happens.
That counts as wall art.
Yep.
Yeah. I should do
happens.
that. I don't know why I haven't actually. You know what?
That's okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I'll get Kimry's autograph on a
There you
fade
go.
photo.
Yeah.
Him and Jermail.
You guys do
That'd be
moats?
good luck with that.
Yeah. I do have my George Ross multiple reasons, including many, many friends that have gone to Wofford College. Disrespect the Wofford Terriers or their football program, but this is a game South Carolina should win. So what do you expect to see in terms of personnel usage, playbook, et cetera?
I expect that we have to come out hot and go because they're going to. They're going to bring everything. I don't care what their record is. This is their last game. A lot of guys that, obviously from South Carolina, they're going to come out there and try to give it their all and then some because that's just what happens. You can't sleep on a team like this. That's just part of it.
Right.
But, again, when it's all said and done, I want to see Juju touching the ball a bunch. I want to see these seniors, guys that are going out, Luke, all those guys getting some touches and hopefully doing some big things out there because that's I thought it should be senior night. You should have it should be definitely come out there and support these guys. They've been battling for 4, 5, 10, 12 years or whatever they've had.
Right.
So whatever they're allowed to get nowadays. But,
Alex Huntley is actually 32 years old.
But it's just a big deal. It really is to see you don't think much of it. My senior day, you go out there, and normally it's 30 minutes maybe before we're still. Yeah. Man, I don't even know if you've warmed up.
Well, you and Langston have told some stories, and Eric, of how Coach Holtz felt about senior day. He was not.
And it's tough though because you're out there, your parents or whoever, and you're getting all weepy because it's the last time at Williams-Brice and last time in front of this crowd, and you just hope that the crowd's out there and supports you and has your back, and it's a big deal. It really is, and you wish you could do it after, but you never know what's going to the outcome. You wish you could do it some other time, but it's you just gotta take all the emotions and let it roll.
And again, in terms of play calling, you as vanilla as possible and hope that it's just strength on strength.
Why not? Just keep rolling. I mean, you've shown pretty much everything you can do out there. That Clemson can look at whatever they got a lot of games to look at. Right. So you do what you got to do to win the game. You do what you got to do to get some of these younger receivers involved too early. Some of these guys that let's build on Campbell. Let's build on Brown. Let's build on some of these guys that got some touches and. Harbor, let's try to get them some more confidence going into this game. So you don't want to go too vanilla. You want to go ahead and show, you still want to build you want to get better every day. You want to get better in this game. I think you just keep building on it. And it shouldn't be harder plays. I think you let Rocket eat some early on, and then hopefully Attaway gets some. And I really want to see Juju get some touches and make a name again.
Yeah, Shane touched on that a lot today when just talking about Wofford. That was usually like the centralized theme of Wofford is we're just trying to get better. But I kind of want to go back to the senior day element of it. Maybe not like the senior day events, but maybe like this specific group, because there's a lot of these guys that didn't come here to play for Shane Beamer. They came here to play for Will Muschamp and the University of South Carolina, but they decided to stay. And I think part of that has laid like a foundation for what you're seeing this year, and really like a really good version of how to build a roster in.
Good deal. Ryan21 Brewer on Twitter, RyanBrewer.net. That is Brews Day. A lot more to do here. Sound from Coach Beamer. Some interesting stuff from Lane Kiffin. All coming up on the postgame show. Keep it here. Family and friends coming around. That's been sort of the theme of some of the live reads in this first hour. And the same thing could be true for what's going on around your home. Is it time for a new kitchen, new bathroom ahead of the holiday season? And you're saying, well, yeah, but I got to pay for it. Well, take advantage of your home's equity with a Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union home equity line of credit. You can get a 10-year draw, so each job can be done individually. Don't need to borrow one big lump sum and say, well, what do I do with the rest of this? I don't want to do all that stuff right now. I don't need to do all this stuff right now. Just talk to the professionals at Palmetto Citizens and see what they can do for you. And as a federal credit union, they can offer you lower rates and fewer fees than the big banks, which is always very important in terms of saving money. So figure out what needs to be done. Then stop into any of their branch offices, 14 of them across the Midlands, or apply online right now. All of your banking needs can be done with Palmetto Citizens. Check them out online. Join my wife and me as members and many, many other your friends and neighbors, palmettocitizens.org. Four o'clock on this Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back into the rave that is the postgame show.
Oh, we love the football.
Yes. Alongside Elijah, I'm Jay.
Actually, we call it Fußball in Deutschland. I did take 3 years of German.
Did you?
Remembered some stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah, ich möchte der Fußball spielen.
Wow.
I would love to play some football.
Man, I want you to keep working here, okay? I do.
Yeah.
But between the BMW presence in the upstate and Scout now coming to Columbia, I would not want that bilingual opportunity to take you from us. But
Well, here's the thing. I took a lot of German and I learned a lot of it. I have forgotten way more than I should have.
I got you.
I can tell you a couple of like sentences like that. I would love to play football. I only know like a few others, and one of them is I would love to take out your trash. And I don't know. I would be a great janitor at one of those places, sure, but in terms of like negotiating business deals and having further, Germanic conversations, I could not go very far. Very limited.
I will admit, for that brief second before you said the word trash, I was like, you learned how to say, I would love to take out your daughter.
Honestly, it wouldn't take much for me to like really think about it and put that sentence together. So maybe
Sure.
I could. I could get myself punched by a German man.
I would love to drink your beer.
That's universal. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah. You know what's weird? For the beer connoisseur that I am, and I hope this isn't like a hot take or heresy to some, I am not a big fan of German beers.
We're very Americanized. Me and you have very similar beer taste. Big IPA folks. That stuff doesn't fly as much over the pond.
Yeah. But like German beer, a lot more wheat. And there's plenty of there are good ones. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not choosing German beer. I have become, I've admitted I've become a West Coast IPA guy first and foremost. I'm not exclusive.
Yeah.
But that is certainly my preference, and it's a heavy preference.
Yeah, overall,
I
it's always
freely
gonna be
admit
mine.
that. But I don't know, man. I had a Vorsteiner not too long ago, and I was like, all right, I hadn't had one of these in a while. And then something classic like a St. Pauli Girl is good from time to time, I suppose, just to mix it up.
I would like to try more German beers.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't had a ton.
They got a lot of them.
A few.
They got a lot of them. It's fun to go get one like at the Germany Pavilion at Epcot, just because, again, Epcot and beer. So I like
Expensive beer, but beer nonetheless.
But I prefer to go down to the Rose and Crown pub in the UK Pavilion, grab a Newcastle or a Boddington's. I like Boddington's.
Carlsberg ain't bad. I hated it when I've tried Carlsberg when I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
And I hated
what is that? Danish?
Danish. Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Like most of it?
Yeah, like certainly the like if you get Newcastle, like original Newcastle or classic, I should say, Newcastle brown ale, just your classic Newcastle, chances are pretty good it's being brewed in Chicago.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is kind of a bummer.
A little bit.
Because I'd like
Never
to
meet your heroes, kids.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it makes me like want to go to Newcastle. Like maybe we should call Tony Annan.
He's a former Newcastle player.
He is, yeah, a Geordie, they call themselves. And see if he can like import us like an actual case of Newcastle.
Fresh from the source.
Yeah. I mean, there's still.
I'd go in on that.
Like, I just don't want to know.
Newcastle imports. I'm not going to lie.
I don't want to know that they're
intrigued.
not making it at all in Newcastle, right? Like, I don't want to know. I don't want to like. Oh yeah, they shut down the brewery. Like that would be terrible.
Would be heartbreaking.
Yeah. We don't need that. But yeah, I prefer like again Newcastle or Boddington's from England. Otherwise, just hit me up with I don't know, man. Like. Well, here locally, in the little nostalgia glasses down at Columbia Craft is just off the charts good.
My buddy Logan he bought 2 different 6-packs to take home with him.
Nice.
He was a huge fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Like, big fan of that. I forget the one at Angry Fish. I'm bad with names because names are always kitschy, which is great.
Yes.
The only reason I can remember little nostalgia glasses is because I just bought that. Like
technically, the little nostalgic goggles.
See, even then I screwed up. Even then I screwed it up. I see. You should have slapped me up
Maz
the
is on
first
his
time.
way.
I know,
to
right?
Slap you. Yes.
Yeah. And then for the big brands, I don't know. I tell you what, man. Right now, like Sierra Nevada Celebration is out.
Mm-hmm.
And
they do no wrong.
I like the fact that that's a seasonal beer, but that really might be like my favorite. It really might be.
I haven't had that one. I have done a lot with Sierra Nevada in terms of trying.
Original Sierra Nevada is great. Not technically an IPA, but a very hoppy pale ale. But it's close. If you close your eyes,
can't tell the difference.
Torpedo.
Yes.
Torpedo is excellent.
Huge fan.
Big fan. Yeah. It'll pop you. Yeah, be careful.
Yeah.
But it's
high
good.
gravity stuff.
It's good. It's good. All right. Well, there's the beer talk. You want to keep talking beer or football?
As much as I'd like to keep talking beer, and as much as you have inspired me to buy some more once we leave these fine studios.
Got a couple of poll questions that revolve around the college football playoff. Let me revisit the one that I threw out first, and then we'll introduce the one that Elijah has put out for you. Mine stems from just seeing some stuff this morning about the projecting the CFP tonight, and the fact that the SEC doesn't play 9 conference games being something that should be held against them from some, I guess, in Big 10 and Big 12 land. I didn't see much consternation over the fact that the Atlantic Coast Conference plays 8 games.
Which they're having their own trouble determining a champion. Thankfully, for them, it's a lot easier if SMU and Miami just win out.
Yeah.
Also, big if.
That's right. I don't know what it is. I didn't go too far down. I know Elijah was doing a lot of SEC tiebreaker stuff, but apparently Miami owns a tiebreaker over Clemson.
And I don't know what that tiebreaker is.
Yeah, I don't either. But Clemson's done at 7-1.
Yeah.
Miami's not done with conference play yet. Right?
Let me see who Miami still has.
While you're looking that up, my question is not really it's sort of a question. Yeah, I guess it is. The notion that SEC schools playing 8 conference games makes their schedule more manageable than the Big 10 or Big 12 is A, accurate, B, plausible, C, ridiculous, D, whatever, play 9 or 10. Right now, and this is going to run through the end of the program today, right now, 53.4% of you, so that actually came down from when we read this a little while ago, 53.4% of you say it's ridiculous. Second on the list, and you are my people, whatever, play 9 or 10, because that's what I'm here for.
That's what it should be.
14.5% simply say, it's plausible, which, I kind of threw that in on purpose. Like, well, it's definitely plausible. Just 13.7% of you say it's accurate. And that's Clemson fans. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I've actually talked myself. I voted plausible, but I've talked myself into accurate because I thought about it really hard.
Is it in the sense, and what I didn't include in this is the fact that the Southeastern Conference, wink, wink, mandates at least one non-con game against let's just call it a power conference opponent, because we can't say Power 5 and people don't want to say Power 4 because it's probably going to change or something like that. I don't think it is. And I don't know if some people are saying the Big 12 isn't really a power conference as much as it could have been with Texas and Oklahoma. Again, a lot of power conference opponent. But again, Georgia played Clemson, but Missouri played Boston College.
Right.
And we could go on and on. There's heavier, Auburn probably, I guess they beat California this time. No, California beat them. That's right. Yeah, they went out to California last year and lost, or won, excuse me. So they traded home games. But Florida has 2, and it's 2 pretty good ones, at least on paper, right? With Miami and Florida State. Georgia gets Clemson and Georgia Tech. This is the first time in a while that South Carolina hadn't played a Power 5 to open, with North Carolina, NC State, somebody like that. And next year they go to Atlanta to play Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech, yep.
I like that. But, it is accurate, I suppose, to some degree, because it isn't like Greg Sankey went to all the ADs and football coaches and said, nah, listen, I need you to schedule like a really good one. Like, somebody might have gone out. Now, this year it would have been different, and it's funny that I popped these two in, but like Indiana or Purdue. Now, this year, Indiana might have been something that you'd have been like, uh-oh.
That would have looked a little tougher on the schedule.
Right. So anyway, but 53, I'll refresh it here, but 53.4% of you say it's ridiculous to believe that it is more manageable because of 8 conference games instead of 9. But on that note, as we talk, again, related to the CFP ranking coming out tonight, you've got a second one?
Yes, and this is supposed to be a blind resume exercise, but I think people have found out too easily which one of these teams it is.
All right.
So you pick your favorite resume of the following.
Okay.
Team A, 9-1 record, 4 in the FPI, 82 strength of schedule, overall efficiency according to ESPN 6, ranked wins. These are wins against the current top 25. I do not count personally. I know a lot of other people too. Do not count wins against teams that were ranked when you played them. But current wins against teams in the top 25, 1 for Team A. All
right, so hold on a second. Let's start. I want to write this now so I can do it because I'm not going to. Can I look at this online?
Yes, you can.
Without having to know who they are?
It is on Twitter, yes. Okay. I have not revealed who these teams are.
Okay, all right, I'll find it while you're talking.
So, in Team B, also 9-1, like Team A, but Team B is number 9 in the FPI, and the strength of schedule is 54 compared to Team A's 82. Overall efficiency, 15 compared to number 6 in the other one, but with 0 ranked wins. Team C is 7-3, so they have 2 more losses than Team A and Team B. FPI 13 compared to the others 4 and 9. Strength of schedule, though, number 8 compared to the others 82 and 54. Overall efficiency 17, so very similar to Team B, but outside the top 10, unlike Team A. Ranked wins 1. Team B again had 0 ranked wins. So the only 2 teams here with ranked wins are Team A and Team C. Well, 77.9% say Team C. I think we all know who Team C is.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's South Carolina.
Yes, that is true. Not so blind. You guys are really good. Congratulations. This is it. But however, the whole point of the exercise, very curious to see how South Carolina measured up to maybe other teams that we assume can get in. Would you like me to reveal who Team A and Team B are right now?
Hang on. Can I guess?
Yes.
I'm having trouble with A. I think B is Texas.
It is not Texas.
Okay.
When Terry and I were talking about it, the original plan was to put Texas and BYU in it, but then I looked and I was like, BYU is a little further away than we might have thought. But then I found these 2 teams, and I said, this is perfect. So none of these are Texas.
Team A, 9-1. Is that Penn State?
Nope.
All right, you got me.
Team A is Notre Dame.
Oh.
Team B is Miami.
Oh. Wow, that Miami didn't have
No wins against teams in the current top 25. Notre Dame does.
By the way, I like your methodology of measuring ranked wins.
Yes.
I have long been a proponent of that. I really, when I go down a schedule or something and I see like they beat so-and-so, well, they were ranked at the time, or they were ranked X at the time, or what, I'm like, How you doing? Like, again, at the time, sure. But the more we have in terms of a way to measure a ball club, the more I think we have to use it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we'll come get the current results on that one. That one's at 107.5 The Game on Twitter. You can hit mine, J. Phillips 107.5. Plenty more to do on this Tuesday. It's the Postgame Show.
Oh, man. I know there's no football on tonight, but Pro basketball having their in-season tournament, a lot of hockey action, which, as you know, big hockey guy. And with Prize Picks, I have been raking with goalie saves, more or less. And you can do that tonight as well. A lot of action going on, but cash in on your sports knowledge with my friends over at Prize Picks. It's very easy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players from 2 different teams, and you can win up to 100 times your cash if you choose more. I love going more on Jalen Hurts rushing touchdowns. No matter what it is, he seemingly wins that one every single time, and I've been all in on Joe Mixon going more on rushing yards as well, and a lot of less on any NFL passing yard projections because, well, passing yardage been going down this year. Defenses are getting pretty good. Just download the app today. Use promo code 1075GAME and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Welcome back in. Post-game show rolling on this Tuesday. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Appreciate you being with us. All right, so Elijah has thrown out on the station Twitter feed the blind resume, and we now know it's not all that blind of a resume because we figured out who they were.
Oh, yeah, everybody figured
we
out
didn't
who
figure
C
it out.
was.
Yeah, C was pretty easy.
Yeah.
But the strength of schedule part, and that again comes back around to what I was throwing out in my poll question too. So I'm glad our minds were in the same place, even if we didn't come at it at the same time. The notion that another, like, I got to let me hit this. Hold on a second. Let me go back to my question because I got a couple of good hits in the comment section. Donnie says, it's really a year-to-year argument. This might be the deepest the SEC has been in a long time, top to bottom. The Big Ten is really 4 teams and a bunch of average at best squads. It's not really anyone's fault. It's just how it played out this year. And then another one that's similar, it says, I say accurate for this reason. If they played 9, it would be insanely harder than the others. We're seeing this year that the Big Ten can give you an undefeated team without playing anyone of note through 7 Big Ten games. That's just not possible in the SEC. Only 8 makes it survivable.
But what about Texas?
Right.
Texas played Georgia.
Right.
That was one tough game.
And lost at home.
But, like, outside of that, what's their best conference win? Vanderbilt on the road? And Vanderbilt's improved, but at the end of the day, Vanderbilt.
Yeah, well, you and I talked about this the other day, and you asked conference win, so you specified their conference win, and we're talking about conference games because I had almost said to you that their best win is Vanderbilt, period, and I think you made a pretty good counterpoint. Their best win is probably at Michigan. Mm-hmm. But how much better of a win is that? And again, how much subjectivity do we put into that? But regardless. And there are folks, I know on the Andy and Ari show, I guess yesterday, they made mention of the fact, I forget which one now. I watch a lot of that stuff. But they made mention of the fact that the A&M Texas game, assuming both win their conference games this weekend, Texas hosts Kentucky, A&M travels to Auburn.
Thankfully, Kentucky's not beating anybody on the road this year in conference play. So, just kidding.
That it could be an elimination game from playoff consideration, because for A&M, should they lose a third loss, you're pretty much done, and you're not playing for the SEC title. Mm-hmm. But for Texas, if you lose, A&M gets into the SEC title game over you with head-to-head directly, but you got nothing to hang your hat on. So now we don't know that to be the case, but in comparing, and obviously if you compare directly Texas and Georgia, if nothing else, the committee, and this won't be for the SEC championship game tiebreakers, this would simply be for how the committee looks at 2 lost teams. Georgia beat Texas, and the committee has already shown us, however its makeup is comprised this year relative to last year, that they take that very seriously. Again, last year they did apply the transitive property of sport in eliminating Georgia from consideration, despite the fact that, again, as I've said many, many times, the bookmakers would have told you, well, they'll be favored over everybody in your field, except maybe Michigan, which would have probably been a pick 'em. But they didn't care. And not saying you had to use a bookmaker to say, should this matter?
Right. So I'd hate to get to that point. Fielding the,
but at the same time, Elijah,
fielding the bracket because of that.
It does tell us things. It does tell us things. It doesn't tell us everything, but anyway. So, Texas does. I mean, and sometimes it is dumb luck of the draw. Indiana is 10-0. To Indiana's credit, save one game. They've been beating the crap out of everybody they play, and that does matter.
They have. Well,
that does matter. I guess Michigan was the only game that was semi-close, and they ended up winning that game by what, 10?
I think it actually ended up being 5.
I can't remember what it was.
Maybe I'm tripping.
No, I'll look. It's fine. It's fine. You might be right. It was closer than it needed, but Michigan's defense is really good.
It's still a really good defense.
Yeah, Michigan's defense is really good. They just can't score points this year. But you kind of knew that was coming.
Laughably bad offense.
So, look, everything is subjective. That's the problem. Like we said, the only way to really solve this, and even the NFL can't do it, but the only way to really solve this is to have everybody play everybody, and you can't do that. But if you add another conference game in the SEC, listen, I think the SEC will add a ninth conference game if two things happen, and I know we've discussed this in the past. One, will they get paid more money for better inventory? Two, will the committee – look, I know they want to look at this year and how the committee chooses its at-large schools. But this format of the 12-school playoff is temporary. This is not way forward thinking, because in 2026, y'all, it's going to change. And what's likely going to happen, in addition to probably adding schools, again, I think they should just go ahead and go straight to 16 because they're going to expand it. Let's not do this little two-step thing. Just you're going to 16 one day. Just do it. But there's a heavy belief, as you well know, Mr. Campbell, that the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference will, wink, wink, ask for spots, plural, for each of them. Probably 3 each, maybe 4.
Like guaranteed spots.
Yes. And I say ask because they won't ask. They will demand. But they'll be nice about it. We'd really, really like to have 4 of our schools make the 16-school field. And then you'll wait with the awkward silence for a minute. And somebody from the Big 12 will sheepishly raise their hand. When you say you'd really like it, what do you mean? Well, we're going to put 4 each in, and then y'all can figure the rest of it out. Okay, okay. Just wanted to add that.
You guys can fight for the other 3 spots amongst yourselves.
That's what it's going to be.
That won't even be enough.
No, it won't. And
because they're going to want every spot available.
Could there be? And then then it will be up to a committee, perhaps beyond that, to figure out if another at-large team deserves a spot.
Yeah, catch this, man. I almost firmly believe that even if Clemson didn't lose to Louisville, say they beat Louisville, and say for some reason they still lose the tiebreaker. We did get a call, thankfully. I forgot to get the person's name, but thank you for calling in. The reason Miami has the tiebreaker over Clemson is because it's a common opponent. Their one common opponent is Louisville.
Oh.
And Miami beat them. Clemson didn't.
Okay.
So that's why we are in this position with Miami having 2 conference games to go against Wake Forest and at Syracuse. But in this hypothetical, say it's a Miami SMU ACC championship game. Miami beats SMU.
That Syracuse game, that could be tricky. That's something.
Kyle McCord's playing pretty well.
That's something.
And Fran Brown won't shower if he loses. So, for the sake of his family, they might really need them to win that game.
I don't deserve soap.
Yeah, winners get soap. Winners get washed, I think is the verbiage that was used. But if Clemson, even as a 1-loss ACC team who wasn't able to get into the ACC championship game, I think they probably would have been excluded over a 2-loss SEC non-championship participant because of the argument of, strength of schedule, strength of conference, all that type of stuff. I really do think there will be some good teams this year that, if they're not in the SEC or Big Ten, aren't getting in because of this misnomer that, the SEC is just so great top to bottom. When a lot of these SEC teams, like Texas, have Kentucky and Mississippi State on the schedule, who are not good football teams.
Right.
Kentucky has mightily underachieved. Mississippi State, we knew wasn't going to be any good.
Yeah, we knew
just isn't very good. And you have a couple of average teams. The Big Ten hasn't done themselves favors because the bottom of the Big Ten is cheeks. It's bad.
It's bad.
It's really bad. So there is, these conferences will go into propaganda overdrive to try to ensure they get more spots.
Join us into the discussion. Get into some sound from Shane as well. 803-404-6100, the postgame show. Love telling you about our friends at AAA Heating and Air, ready to keep you and your family nice and comfortable for many, many years to come. When's the last time you had your system inspected even, to know if it's really up to snuff? Is it loud, clangy, smell funny? Time to get it checked out, 803-677-1500. Listen, if it just needs a quick repair, hey, you're in great shape. That's good. That's good news. But if it's time for a brand new system, then Roy and Dana Finley and AAA Heating and Air ready to help you out with guaranteed financing options, 12 months, no payments or interest, the assurance of their 15-year parts and labor warranty, a $1,500 system buyback rebate. I mean, seriously. It is a fantastic time to make sure that you and your family stay nice and comfortable, no matter the weather here in the Midlands, for many years to come. 803-677-1500. Get a free quote. Stay comfortable with AAA Heating and Air.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways, and we have plenty of them this afternoon, starting with one on Bull Street near Jefferson Street, another one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at O'Neill Court, Highway 6 near Highway 602 and Platte Springs Road. Got a pair of them on 77 southbound, one on Bluff Road near Exit 5, the other at Forest Drive near Exit 12. You have an accident on Mineral Springs Road at Laurel Road, Rabin Road near Ross Road, and lastly, one on Sloan Road at Flora Drive.
Talking some college football on this Tuesday. CFP rankings will be out tonight. Elijah and I have each thrown out a poll question that relates roundaboutly to some of the things the committee will be discussing. South Carolina will be in the top 20. Clemson will be in the top 20. And if any of them want to have even a shot at consideration after championship weekend, Clemson can still play for the ACC title. Again, their upsets can happen.
Yes.
And there's still a way for Clemson. They're done at 7-1, but they can still very much play for the ACC championship.
As we mentioned, Syracuse isn't going to be easy for Miami, especially a Miami team that doesn't play great defense.
A guy named Rob has, I guess, taken issue with the poll question from the station feed on ranked wins. He says it's not actually how it works, because basically Rob is saying the number next to you when you played counts as a ranked win, to which I just replied back to him, Florida State was ranked when Georgia Tech beat them to open the year. Do you really think anybody's going to count that as a ranked win, or that anybody's going to see Florida State as a team worthy of national praise, consideration, ranking right now? And plus, Elijah doesn't need me to defend him, and that's not what I'm doing here. Elijah's using the CFP poll.
Actually, this was the AP.
Okay, well,
CFP hasn't been
the current one, but either way,
the current,
but even the current CFP poll. I mean, look, I am a huge, but again, I go back to a point I've made many, many times. The 2009 win over Mississippi here at Williams-Brice is one of the more historic wins in Carolina football history for multiple reasons. Again, it was not the birth of Sandstorm, but it was when Sandstorm became a thing. It was also, Mississippi was at that point ranked in the top 5. And so I get that that's the juice you're building on, right? I forget where that team finished, but it certainly wasn't top 10. I think they ended up losing 4 games, at least 3. They were good. They weren't a top 5 team. It was a great win. I don't mean to discount it, but I have always been a football fan. And look, this can be some subjectivity here. I've always been a football fan that really measures the season completely when the season is done. But again, I will use Georgia Tech beating Florida State. For a minute there, it felt like a pretty big deal. It doesn't anymore.
No.
It's still cool that Georgia Tech did what they did at the time, but Florida State sucks.
They're the village bicycle, man. Everyone gets a win to play them.
And really, their one win, Cal blew it.
They did. They shouldn't have even had that win.
Yeah, I mean, Cal blew it. FSU didn't, go out there and, just stomp the Cal Golden Bears, man. I mean, Cal went to Tallahassee and had an opportunity, and they just blew it. So, look, Rob, I'm not here to take you to task or whatever, but I'm living in the now. Well, and the point you're making is in the now. I think Rob thinks like we're picking on Carolina or something, which ain't the case, man.
If anything, we are making the Carolina wins for Ole Miss, LSU, and Alabama more valid. Yeah. Like Ole Miss, their best win obviously is going to be Georgia. At South Carolina is probably your second best win.
It is.
And that's really cool. That's a big thing because we know now that South Carolina is a legitimate, really good football team. Yeah. And a lot of, pencil pushers and dorks in the media like myself did not think they were going to be this good going into the year. Right. So you value the win at the time different than what you would value it now when you're fielding a playoff bracket. Like, that's just what makes sense.
And this committee, for what it's worth, will be, again, evaluating in the now. So they will strengthen some resumes and others will weaken
accordingly.
And that's because that's what happens as you build upon the season. So, yeah.
And for Ohio State, a win against Indiana should be a lot more significant because they will end up, let's say they beat them by 20, Indiana ends up being like 15 in the college football playoff poll. That will still count as a ranked win. And as it should, because even though they weren't ranked at the beginning of the season or whatever, I know it's different now, but let's just say, I'm trying to think of a team that Indiana played. Say Nebraska was a legit contender, right? Mm-hmm. And they beat Indiana, and Indiana's like number 15. They stay 15 all year long. Mm-hmm. Just because they're unranked when you beat them doesn't mean it shouldn't count as a ranked win at the end of the season.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're right. When Mississippi beat South Carolina was nowhere to be found in the rankings. So,
and if you look at that, it's like the conference top to bottom, or the conference, like the college football playoff poll now, or what it's going to be after tonight, count the top 25 wins of each team in there when you adjust it for now. Mm-hmm. It's still not a lot because, look, that's just how college football works. But even having a top 25 win, as I showed in that poll, makes your resume, with the exception of those 2 losses, very comparable to one of like Notre Dame, right? Like that's still like a really impressive. If anything, you have a very similar resume. The only difference is you slipped up against 2 games because you do play a tougher schedule given your number 8 strength of schedule and Notre Dame's 82.
Yeah. And, like you mentioned Indiana, too. Indiana is currently around number 100, and I don't know how the computer will reevaluate once they play Ohio State. But I imagine that the Indiana strength of schedule will go from 100, let's say, to 75 or something. I mean, it isn't like it's going to go to, but just because you play mighty Ohio State,
10.
yeah, you're not
gonna
vaulting into the
Yeah.
top 50 even. I wouldn't think.
Not above teams that are already ahead of you in the strength of schedule metric. You're not leapfrogging anybody in that regard.
803-404-6100. Let's get on the phone lines. Jared up next here this afternoon. Hey, Jared.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good, man.
What's up?
I think the two most interesting teams in this playoff conversation are Penn State and Indiana, because both of these teams don't really play anybody outside of Ohio State. Right. And, I mean, we haven't seen Indiana play Ohio State yet, but I think that's what all this is going to boil down to. Over one of those teams getting left out and one of those teams getting in is going to be how close did they play Ohio State. Because Penn State played them close, but Indiana, we've yet to see. I like Indiana. Who doesn't like an underdog story? But I'm worried about them for this weekend, because if they don't pull it out against Ohio State and they get, beat down by 20 points, then they're probably not going to get into that playoff at all.
They're probably not. And again, I think that strength of schedule metric does matter. Jared, thanks for the phone call. Ohio State, as we speak, is a 13.5-point favorite in this game. It's at the Horseshoe. I'm looking. Let me get the FPI again for whatever that matters to you. Computer, Ohio State 73.3% chance to win this game. Now again, and by the way, the line opened Ohio State 11.5, and again, it is up 2 points. So there's very little belief in Indiana at this point in time,
Which would make it even more significant upset. It would be the most significant upset of a top 5 matchup maybe in the history of college football.
I love Kurt Cignetti's confidence, man. I mean, all season long, basically, what was it? I forget. After they were 5-0, he's like, "Hey, I just win."
Oh, that was his introductory press conference.
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
They asked
I guess there was some refrain from that or of that. Anyway,
he was asked how are you going to sell this program to transfers and recruits? He goes, "Google me, I win."
Yeah.
And then that's a hell of a called shot right there.
Yeah. But Jared, I agree with you, man. Penn State, in-state college, tight game. Again, I watched a lot of that one. I know Penn State jumped out early, but Ohio State never really looked troubled.
Yeah, because Ohio State has the best roster in college
football. It's kind of like Georgia the other night. Georgia looked more troubled down 10-0 to Tennessee than when Penn State was up 10-0 on Ohio State. But in the end, both flexed and won comfortably. Right,
as they should have, because you are Georgia and Ohio State.
Yeah, you're more talented than them, and that's typically what matters. I got real quick Sherman up next. Hey, Sherman, how you doing?
Great. How y'all guys doing?
Good, man.
All right. So here's the thing I want to talk about. I think you're correct. What I hate about being the SEC, we're going to make other teams look great because Alabama. You talked about Alabama. You talked about Mississippi. We're going to make them look better because they pulled out the victory on us. And so I agree with that.
Yep.
I just hope moving forward, I hope Carolina, I hated our third quarter. I'm glad we won. But momentum is a big thing in certain games. And the amount of times we went for it on fourth down, and I called in yesterday morning, but I wasn't able to get in. And so I really hope that moving forward, I hope we look at momentum and try to close out games better. When you have your foot on their throat, let's go ahead and kill them.
No, that's a great point, man. And I thought the end of second quarter sequence was fantastic. And again, even if you could have gotten 3 to end the third quarter there to open it on that drive, that would have been something good. Thanks for the phone call, Sherman. Appreciate it. Got to hit a break. Plenty more to do on the postgame show. Welcome back in. We opened the 4 o'clock hour organically, talking a little bit about some beer. I do want to remind you that I missed an opportunity. Is the point here. So this is on me. This is just bad hosting. But the brand new craft beer card has arrived here in the building. It's just $59. You save around $300. You get a whole bunch of craft beers at some great locations all around the Midlands. It's very easy to acquire one of these too. You just go to 1075thegame.com. You click on Sweet Deals.
Sweels.
And you got them. It's a great gift for you. It's a great gift for me. It's a great gift for me.
It's a really great gift for me, for anyone who knows me, anyone who's listening and knows me.
Just saying.
It's your boy.
That's right.
Big beer guy.
1075thegame.com. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, headlines of the day. We got a lot to get to from Coach Beamer. Now, we drive around the SEC. We've been talking a lot this hour about just a lot of the factors going into the college football playoff. And on a semi-related note, to just illustrate, dare we say, my word here, and then I'll toss it to Elijah for the full quote, the absurdity of some of what we're dealing with.
I think that's 1,000% accurate, Jay Phillips.
Here's something from one of America's best college football writers.
Yeah, this is from Chris Vanini, who screenshotted a Big Ten press release sent out today.
Tuesday.
He tweeted this about 40 minutes ago. And it says, mega conference tiebreakers are so confusing that the Big Ten didn't realize until today that Oregon clinched a spot in the Big Ten championship game.
Like you went through a whole work day yesterday. You have all these people that are number crunchers behind the scenes for broadcasts doing research all week. And that's how confusing it is. That's amazing.
That is absolutely amazing. Tiebreaker scenarios going so deep that it takes you until, 3 days after the game is played?
Who does Oregon have left?
Washington.
That's it.
They have a bye this week. They've already played 11 games.
Okay. Oh, my. Oh, that's right. You know what? I saw that they were going to have – they had like 8 straight games. They had an early bye, I guess, and then they had like 8 straight games. So Washington next week. Man, they're going to exact some revenge on Washington, aren't they?
If I'm Dan Lanning, I would like to unleash hell and earth.
Yeah. Last year, Oregon lost twice, both to Washington, both by 3 points. Right? I think that was right.
Yeah, by 3 points each.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm Dan Lanning, I remember that. I think a lot of those players that were on that team remember that.
Sadly, none of the Washington guys are left, man. Washington,
you can't exactly
they promoted the manager, and he's like, hey, man, I was just carrying the ball bag last year. It's not my fault.
Don't take it out on me. Coach ain't there. Coaching staff is not there. They only had like 2 returning starters on offense.
How much?
Washington.
I know we didn't talk much about it the other day, but Dan Lanning, we did mention that Jeremy Fowler piece, but I mean, I wonder as we get closer and closer to. By the way, I'll have something on this that's almost going to. I'm going to make y'all, I hope, laugh during the headlines, and it has nothing to do with college football, but it does have something to do with the NFL. I'm already laughing about it. I haven't even written anything or worded anything yet in my head.
But you are excited.
I've just seen a headline go by, and I was like, okay, this will be good. This will be good. But do you really think Dan? From what I hear about Dan Lanning, he is a terrific leader of people, and a lot of times that is job one, really in any organization, obviously, but in the NFL, I'm sure he loves his job, but you really only have to recruit about 10 people a year when you're an NFL head coach because you're just going for a few big-time free agents. You don't have to keep on recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
And the money is typically – he makes a lot of money, but the NFL pays that. So, I mean, he certainly wouldn't take a job for less money. But I do wonder if especially if they do something big this year, and And I don't know what big may qualify for. I mean, is big
National championship.
Yeah, I was going to say, is winning the national championship like Harbaugh did? I mean, look, Harbaugh was going to leave anyway, and it may have been for some other things. But I'm convinced, it's easy enough to say, right? I'm convinced that Harbaugh was going to leave anyway because I think he really wants to win the Super Bowl. They're not going to win the Super Bowl this year in San Diego or L.A., whatever.
Boo. It's been like a decade, Jay Phillips.
Whatever.
Boo.
Whatever. They should move back to San Diego. But anyway, the Chargers aren't going to win this year's Super Bowl, but I do think you'll have them contending here pretty soon. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens with Dan Lanning, what kind of offer somebody makes.
I love the rationale in Jeremy Fowler's reporting being like he's got a lot of Dan Campbell in him.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear about a coach.
Yeah.
I don't go a wall for Dan Campbell.
That's working
right now.
That's working. Headlines of the day, plenty from Coach Beamer. Drive around the SEC, all coming up in the final hour. Keep it here.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to, they're causing some issues on the roadways. We had a lot in the last 30 minutes, but that's been trimmed down. Only 3 active accidents here in Richland County are causing some active traffic backups. One still on 77 southbound at Forest Drive near exit 12. That one's still causing some issues, as well as one on North Main Street at I-20. And lastly, one that's just popped up here in about the last 20 minutes or so on US 176 at Broad River Road near St. Andrews Road.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Tuesday. Welcome back in. Also, the final hour of the postgame show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Let's jump into a lot of sound that we've got for you today as Shane Beamer spoke ahead of Carolina's game with Wofford. Of course, conference play is behind us. Final home game of the regular season against a Southern Conference opponent. But Coach Beamer says he will not let his team take the Terriers lightly.
Yeah, we talked about it as a team this morning that, one, you better have a respect for Wofford for one, and have yourself ready to play because they can present you some problems. I mean, you just watch special teams. They've got a fake punt against Chattanooga. They got a fake field goal against Richmond. They did a fake field goal this year against Western Carolina. On a kickoff return, they faked like a throwback pass against, I think it was Mercer. They did a surprise onside kickoff in the middle of the game against VMI. So you better have yourself ready to go and have a respect for them, first of all, because they can attack you in special teams. And next thing you know, you're in a battle because you're not where your mind's not where it needs to be. But for us, and we always, talk about this, it really is about us. And the message that I've given them that we've talked about is we need to get better this week. And going back to the beginning of the month when we talked about they remember November, not just, what you do in the SEC games in November. They remember November. And we're still writing this story of in the month of November, and we need to get better. And we've been a team that has always gotten better as the season has gone on. And that doesn't mean that you just get better, then you play a non-SEC team and you stay the same. You better get better this week as well. And, I just go by, are they on time for meetings? Is there a sense of urgency? Is the practice still spirited and intense? And all the answers to that today were yes. So hopefully we can continue to have a really good week and lead into Saturday.
And the game, of course, starts at 4 o'clock, and I think we have a cut on it, but we won't do it right this second. But Shane did ask fans to make sure they get into the ballpark early. This is a big senior class, both a lot of dudes that have been around Columbia a long time. Yeah, guys like Rocket Sanders will have a senior day as well. So for some of the newcomers, Kyle Kennard, and everybody in between that's saying goodbye, but urging folks to, just enjoy an extended tailgate, like by getting to the tailgate early, but then making sure you leave early and come in. So I wanted to pass that along.
Fair ask.
Yeah, I think so.
I did write down, like in my notes, during the presser, I was like, valiant ask. I don't know how successful.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm with you, and that's not about Shane at all. When we say that kind of thing, as somebody who's been around here a long time, the final day of tailgate, especially if the weather is nice, and there's something about those finally, those it's finally fall in Columbia
in late November,
right? So. I get it, but good stuff there. Speaking of Saturday, we'll have more from Shane throughout the afternoon, I promise you. But here, no official SEC availability reports anymore for Carolina. So there's no obligation for Shane to tell you how anybody's feeling, but he decided to anyway.
Not really, but I will for you guys because I like you and the class is here today. Obviously, Brady Hunt won't play. Outside of that, I would say that we're optimistic on everyone else that didn't finish the game. So if we had to put a report out, I'd probably say maybe not probable, doubtful, or questionable, but optimistic on everyone else. Judge Collier should be fine. He practiced today. And the ones that to me would be the most questionable, doubtful, probable, optimistic would be the tight end. It's just kind of seeing how they respond outside of Brady. But they were out there today. Just got to see how far they come along between now and Saturday. But everyone else should be good. Jerry Brown's is banged up a little bit, but we'll see how he is as the week goes also.
Okay. So Shane Beamer today on his own, just creating a new grade of availability report status.
See, he's a little more creative than the SEC was in terms of designations for players.
Right.
And I vote that we have similar player designations moving forward in the SEC going into next year. Now that we've done it this year as the guinea pig, I think next year would be a great year to implement, not probable.
Optimistic? Optimistic sounds better than probable even.
And put one you can even designate as please don't ask me.
Yeah.
If you're not sure.
Or again, I'm a huge fan of, shrugging shoulder emoji guy.
Or just put an emoji next to each player.
I'm
or
totally
feeling
for
frisky.
It. Yeah. Thumbs up, fist bump.
Elijah Campbell status, frisky. I'm ready to roll.
Dude, the one where the guy's got his green face, like he's
like
ready,
about to throw
getting
up.
ready to hurl.
Player suffers gruesome season-ending injury. You just put it on the injury report as that.
Well, there's the one where the guy is actually, one emoji is actually hurling.
Yeah,
that's like
actually, projectile vomiting.
Yeah,
the emoji that is. Yes.
So those are two different. Like one's close,
and one is full on. Yep.
Or again, like a little sound effect of like, that'd be good.
Or just a Bill Belichick like murmur.
Right.
Or Cincinnati.
Right.
I don't know.
Or if it's a good one, like yep. One of those.
Or just put, for one, it's like questionable with a winky face, meaning it's questionable, but he playing.
Gamecocks and Wofford, Saturday at 4. Plenty more from Shane coming up in a bit. All right. You want to go ahead and get to this one now?
Yes. Oh, I know. You are itching. I can see it in your face. It's lighting up.
So the headline says, Jets fire GM Douglas, setting stage for reboot. The Jets have been rebooting since Joe Namath won Super Bowl III.
What exactly are you blowing up here?
All right? Seriously, man. The Jets have been rebooting since Nixon was president. The first time. Before Nixon got reelected. I do remind people, Nixon got reelected. Then he got himself run out of town. So this is before that.
It was his efforts in that reelection.
Heck, he might not have, it might have even been right around the time he was taking office. This is how long ago it was that the Jets won the Super Bowl. Anyway.
I had a parent that wasn't born yet.
Joe Douglas has been fired. Woody Johnson, the owner, announcing that today. I'll read from Rich Cimini's report. Says the move came 6 weeks after Johnson fired Coach Robert Saleh after a 2-3 start, setting the stage for an offseason reboot that likely will affect quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Phil Savage has been named the team's interim general manager. What is his job for the next month?
Oh, I saw a really funny
don't burn the place down?
Today.
Like, seriously, what is an interim GM for a rebooting New York Jets actually going to do?
I feel really bad because I can't remember who it was that said it. Found a tweet, and I found it to be pretty funny, where it's like being the interim GM for a directionless franchise has to be the best gig in the world. Oh, yeah, sit in this really nice office, get to go to all these NFL games and these really cool suites and boxes, but don't do anything. Whatever you do not do anything. You will get in trouble if you do something. This is a directionless franchise. Do not do anything. Make no trades. Don't do any scouting. Nothing. Just be there. Exist. Be a warm body. Just don't be the other guy.
Right.
That's all you got to do.
I'll give Woody Johnson this as it relates to the game last night. He fires general managers. Again, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys ought to fire the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys and reboot that.
That one is requiring a reboot.
Yeah, except that, as most of you probably know, the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys.
He ain't going to fire himself.
So he ain't getting fired. Under Joe Douglas, I suppose you could say, the New York Jets were 30-64. One more thing here, and again, I'm sorry, Jet fans. The very few of you that are actually out there, especially in this part of the world.
For those who stayed, you will not be champions.
Here's another paragraph from Rich Cimini's report this afternoon. The Jets, who began the season with Super Bowl aspirations, dropped to 3-8 after blowing a late lead Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. Brother, everybody that's 0-0 starts the season with Super Bowl aspirations.
Hope springs eternal.
To believe that the
everyone.
New York Jets were going to be, I mean, look, I know who your quarterback is. I get it. But you got nothing around him.
Actually, here's the thing. They do have around him.
Well, they do now. They made a little bit of a move.
Games with them. They almost won 8-9 games with Zach Wilson as the quarterback. The real thing here, Jay, is Aaron Rodgers isn't good anymore.
No, he's not. And Rich put out on Twitter, this is not in his report, but this is on Rich's Twitter feed. With a totally new regime in 2025, it likely means Aaron Rodgers will not be back. A new GM and new head coach will probably want their own quarterback. Rodgers has a good relationship with Joe Douglas, and last week he advocated for Jeff Ulbrich, and it's hard to imagine him wanting to be back. So Rich Cimini taking to Twitter after the announcement of the firing of the GM to say this also does likely directly impact Aaron Rodgers. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I don't want any part of this anyway. I know he got paid. Other teams would have paid Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
The Green Bay Packers were the only one, other than, say, Kansas City and a few. Y'all know what I mean.
Willing to give up draft.
Yeah, but I mean, for teams that needed a quarterback, others beyond the Jets would have paid him. So, anyway, so good luck, Jet fans, as your organization
continues
undergoes a reboot
once again.
But when I saw that, maybe I'm making too much up. Maybe I'm being a jerk, man. Because Lord knows, look, my team hadn't been to the playoffs in 8 years. But the Jets are the Jets they are the punchline of the league for a reason. It's because they're never any bleeping good.
I think you're getting, and rightfully so, hung up on the word reboot because it kind of insinuates that something needs to, start back to be successful once again. Like we reboot classic movies. Like Planet of the Apes had a reboot movie, right?
There you
no
go.
One's doing a reboot of Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium.
That's fair.
No one, right? So it's almost like seeing a headline, 20th Century Fox is rebooting Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, and then it getting a lot of retweets and likes or whatever. Nobody asked for that, right? Like it's not being rebooted. Like I think that's the fair hang up on a headline.
Probably. I see that where I did. I started laughing. When I laughed, you probably didn't see me, but I when I saw that about 30 minutes ago, I laughed out loud here during a commercial break. I was like, reboot. And then I just went like, I laughed. Speaking of reboot, our final note here in our integrated media headline of the day, Mike Tyson's career sort of rebooted the other night. I think that's probably also the end of it. But
it's like rebooting the original Planet of the Apes movie with the original Planet of the Apes cast.
There you go.
That's what that was. Yeah. It was technically a reboot.
Charlton Heston and
just not how
Roddy
you
McDowell
would do it.
are back. Yeah. But, and if this is true that Jake Paul is now potentially the biggest draw in boxing, then I fear for the future of the sport.
Sport's been dead.
But, well, that's kind of fair. But the gate now, not, because, again, this was not a pay-per-view event. So if you already subscribed to Netflix, then you had access to this, again, event. I'm not going to call it a fight. But more than 72,000 fans attended the fight. And it clocks in as the 9th highest combat sports gate ever in the United States. It beats the record for any gate in Texas. And let's see here. It was the biggest boxing gate outside of Las Vegas ever. ever.
It's disgusting. I don't like the sound of that.
I mean, now again, you're having it in a giant football stadium. I'm trying to imagine, like, what if like Ali and Foreman could have fought at a football stadium or something?
Hey, Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis fought in what's now the world's largest Bass Pro Shops.
Is that where in Memphis?
The Pyramid.
Yeah. Is that really what that is now?
It's a Bass Pro Shops, yeah.
Oh, my.
Just Google it. During the break, Google the Pyramid in Memphis, and you'll see a large pyramid, but a large pyramid with a branded Bass Pro Shops logo on it.
Was
That's
that
all it
place?
is now.
How long was that place an arena?
It was an arena for the Grizzlies for a year.
So it wasn't even around
A
that
single
long,
year.
was it?
Built in the early 2000s.
Okay. Anyway, there you go. So take that as you will, kids. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson event. Biggest boxing gate outside Vegas in the history of the sport, at least in the United States. More from Shane Beamer coming up. Welcome back into the postgame show here on a Tuesday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you. Remind you the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest is back. And I don't know how this works towards, anything in the future, but we hadn't had a winner yet. So we are now up to $1,100 if South Carolina scores a special teams touchdown this weekend. Someone entered into the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest is going to win $1,100, and that'd be great this time of year.
That's a great payday.
It's great anytime.
Killer Christmas presents with that.
But at that point, you're just splurging. But you have to register at 1075thegame.com.
You can buy a ton of Charleston chews with that. You can buy out an entire Cracker Barrel worth.
Charleston Chew is pretty good. Yeah.
I liked it a lot as a kid. Not as much of a fan as an adult.
Mary Jane's, pretty good. It was old school
Mary Jane's, it depends who you're asking, buddy. It depends who you're asking.
Chico Stick. You ever had that one?
I have not.
Not bad. Trying to think of the old Zagnut.
See, I think
going really old school.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking just like Cracker Barrel candy.
Yeah, I got you. No, they sell all that kind of stuff.
They sell all of there.
Listen, you wanna go make yourself feel great about candy and old school? Free plug here. All right, go down to Mass General. You ever been to Mass General store?
No.
All right, just thank me later.
And they've got. So what you're saying is they have some killer old candy there,
dude. Just thank me later.
Okay,
right, that's all I'm saying.
I might walk right down there because it's just a
it's right down there, and they got them in other cities. They got a really cool one in Asheville. Their original ones in Boone. They got them around. But if you want candy, and you think that the candy selection at the Cracker Barrel store is good, I'm just going once again. You can thank me later.
Okay.
All right.
You know what? We're writing this bad boy down here, Mass General.
And when your head begins to spin because of all the selection, and then you're on that sugar rush, then you'll really thank me later. As long as you don't fall and hit your head.
Stream of consciousness text, Jack Kerouac style text messages from me.
That's right. And I know
I consume all of it.
That'd be kind of fun, actually.
Which I will.
And I know that all of you that have been into a Mass General store, whether it's here or in other places, are all nodding your head right now, going, "He's right, Elijah."
Then there might be some real concern for my health and well-being once I actually discover this. Because I can't stop. That's my thing. I've got a sweet tooth to the point of where I will make myself sick because I have zero self-control.
Well, here's the good news then.
None.
Mass General also sells sleeping bags and tents, so you can just park
right out right there.
Yep, you'd be fine.
I know what I'm doing tonight.
They'll probably even let you rent one, man.
They might.
A sleeping bag.
Might.
Hey, I'm going to eat all of this. Can I just... They'd be like, sure.
I'm going to get a really big tummy ache. I'm not going to be able to walk out of the building. Can I sleep here today?
Yeah, that'd be fine. They'd probably even have some Pepto.
Oh.
Or some other candy that will just pretend it's Pepto.
Like those little bottle caps.
Yeah. So.
Smarties.
In the meantime, I'll turn it back over to Elijah, who asked what I thought was a great question on one of the big topics that we've been discussing with you, our listeners, and amongst ourselves the last couple of weeks.
And that would be the progression of Nick Harbor. We've had a few calls in the last 3 months, or however long the football season's been going. Even before that, even last year, asking about Nick Harbor and his progression. And we've kind of emphasized that it's going to be a process. He was new to the position. He's never played wide receiver. So when he made this transition, it was going to be difficult. I remember asking him in media day last year, talking to him about, transition to wide receiver. And he even said, be patient. I'm still learning the position. And now we're starting to see exactly the impact he can have on this offense in terms of stretching the field, even if it doesn't come by way of volume catches. He's still using that speed to stretch the field now. We saw that in a really good form on Saturday night. So I just asked Shane, exactly what's it been like watching him be able to progress to the point where he is a plus to this offense and not what someone, I guess, a couple weeks ago said as a liability.
Yeah, so proud of him. The guy works his butt off, and he's so appreciative for everything that he gets. I mean, I've told you guys, I think the story where after the A&M game last season, he came in my office on Sunday night and thanked me for the opportunity to play so many plays. And when he caught a touchdown pass against Furman, thanking me for giving him an opportunity, I think it was against Furman last year, to play. And he's just appreciative for everything. And that's still ongoing now with all he's done. I mean, he's still making those phone calls, sending those text messages or whatnot. That's why he brought the actual game ball that we gave him into the post-game press conference the other night. It wasn't for show. It was for it really meant a lot to him to get that ball. And it's pretty cool to see. And when I say that he works really, really hard, he works really, really hard. I mean, he's in here on his off day, and he's out there with Coach Furry. It's important to him. So it's really cool to see somebody that's a great young man, first of all, work really, really hard and have the success that he's had. And like I told him, like he's just scratching the surface of how good he can be, but he's just really developed. And even the play the other night, I mean, on the long pass on the sideline, I don't know if he would have made that last year. I mean, it was a good release off the line of scrimmage. It was a good route. It was great ball skills to track the ball and make the catch. And then the threat that he poses to defenses. I mean, he got the holding penalty because the guy literally grabbed the back of his jersey and was just hanging on because Nick was running past him. So he's worked really, really hard on the details of being a receiver, and credit Coach Furry for pouring into him like he has as well.
Curious to see what the usage is for Nick this weekend and certainly next weekend. As Ryan pointed out, Ryan Brewer with us earlier, we all use the term decoy. Shane doesn't use that, but Ryan made mention to me how many go routes in a row on one possession that he was running, but somebody had to account for him every time, whereas maybe earlier in the year, and this was one of the things that we discussed with fans, and a lot of folks are the guys that do what we do, Elijah, like there's only so many times you can do that before a defensive coordinator or whomever's calling plays or setting up a defense is going to look and go, listen, they're not going to throw to him. It's okay. Now, you can't leave him wide open.
But you're not going to focus a lot of that being a pressure point.
But, but you're not, like for instance, the touchdown that he had Saturday, you feel like two people were supposed to account for him, and neither one of them did. And that's what left him wide open for a very easy play.
Yeah.
The safety realized, or whether that was a guy playing nickel technically, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was, because there's a corner blitz.
Yeah.
The cornerback that was lined up on Norwood blitzed, and then the safety took like two steps up thinking that it might have been run play. Just straight up not accounting
right.
for
just
Nick
didn't
Arbor.
even pay attention, and then it was like
behind the defense, and it's like, oh well, now you done goofed. You probably should have accounted for him a little bit, and he's more of a threat to do it, and he showed it they could do it once and still did it again in the second half.
Yeah, I got a hunch that there's more this weekend to really put a lot more on film for next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a hunch.
A feeling. We haven't even talked about the kickoff return to set up the last drive. We haven't even got to talk about that a lot too, with that reverse on the special teams. Right. I really like that play.
Yeah.
I really like that a lot, to be able to just handing the ball, going downhill, misdirection, get him around the corner, because I thought he had the guy for a step. I genuinely thought when he took that ball and he turned that corner, I thought he might have been gone.
Yeah.
For a split second, I thought he was housing it.
And I think we've mentioned a few times throughout the season, would there be more of that for him, whether it's special teams or something they could design on offense to just find a way to get him into some open space. And, they could be still working on those things. But there again, like everything else we've kind of seen with this offense, build that foundation first, get that basic confidence package, if you will, in there, and then begin to expand. But can that happen in the course of the next couple of weeks? I think there's still something to look at. Come back on the other side, drive around the SEC, get you ready for this weekend, and we'll have our poll results, and we got more from Shane Beamer ahead of the Wofford game. It's a very busy postgame show.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you, they're causing some issues on the roadways here in the Midlands, and there are a lot of them, so I'll try to get them all to you right now. Starting with an accident near Irmo, reported on Farming Creek Road near Dreer Shoals Road. One on Flora Drive at Old Springs Road. Another one on Hardscrabble Road at Lee Road. An accident on North Main Street at I-20. One on Shop Road at Pineview Drive. One on St. Andrews Road near Bush River Road. Two Notch Road near Sherway Road. And lastly, one that's been causing issues for about the last 30 minutes or so, one on US 176 at Broad River Road near St. Andrews Road.
Welcome back in. It is Drive Around the SEC time here on a Tuesday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you. We told you about our poll questions today. Elijah, pull up the station one, and I'll get the one that I've been running. And then I want to play the sound from Lane Kiffin because a lot of this relates to what we've been talking about today. I threw one out that said the notion that SEC schools playing 8 conference games makes their schedule more manageable than the Big Ten or Big 12 is A, accurate, B, plausible, C, ridiculous, D, whatever, play 9 or 10. 54.4% of you now say it's ridiculous. 17.6% say play 9 or 10. And it's tied at 14% for accurate and plausible. So most say it's ridiculous. And again, I should have put in the question just to remind people, the SEC mandates at least one non-conference game against a power conference opponent. So there's that.
Which does them a lot of good when determining your conference champion.
It does, yeah.
Does you a whole lot of good. As you see, there are no issues with tiebreakers or anything of the sort.
Not
None
even a little bit.
We're living harmoniously.
That's right. Not even a
in
little
the Southeastern Conference.
You have one as well, sir?
That's right. This is a blind resume exercise. This is a semi-blind resume because I think we all figured out who Team C is, and I think we all voted accordingly. But I did like to see what we thought in terms of comparing South Carolina's resume against two teams that I think are going to be in the college football playoff. Team A, 9-1 record, 4 in the FPI, with an 82 strength of schedule and an overall efficiency, according to ESPN, of 6. They have 1 ranked win. Team B, also 9-1, but their FPI is number 9. Their strength of schedule, a little bit tougher, 54. Overall offensive efficiency, a little less, or overall efficiency at 15 compared to 6. But with 0 ranked wins, Team C is 7-3, but 13 in the FPI, so not too far behind Team B, but a strength of schedule significantly higher at 8 as opposed to 54 and 82.
Wow.
An overall efficiency of 17, not too far behind Team B, and with a ranked win of 1. They have 1 ranked win. Ironically enough, Team A and Team C have the same ranked win.
All right. And again, that's ranked win as of this week's poll.
Yes, as of this week's AP poll, because the college football playoff poll is not out yet, but the current top 25.
We'll have it in, 2 hours or so.
And Team A is Notre Dame. Team B is Miami. Team C is South Carolina. 77% of the voters have figured me out, and they have selected Team C, or they would choose Team C.
You would not put records in there, but everything else, I wonder how much different that would be.
I should have, yeah.
I'm just,
I probably should have.
Yeah.
But, but 77% say Team C. Between the other two, 15.7% say Team A, which is Notre Dame, and Team B, 7.3% say them, which is Miami.
Yeah. Again, these kind of intertwine with the college football playoff discussion, as does this next one. So cut one on the main list here, please, sir, from today. You need to listen to this, and there's a couple of pauses, I think, if this is the same clip that I heard earlier, so it's not going to cut out. But this is Lane Kiffin at his weekly press conference. They've got Florida this week in Gainesville. This is Lane on the importance, I suppose, or potential importance is the way to say it, of playing in the SEC championship game.
Ooh, it's a challenging question. I don't know. I guess I would say, you know, it's changed. The conference championship, you know, could have a big impact both ways for people. So I've talked to other coaches, so I'll just kind of give you the feeling from some other coaches that, you know, they don't want to be in it. You know, the risk to get a bye, the reward to get a bye versus the risk to get knocked out completely. I mean, that's a pretty big, that's a really big risk, just to get a bye. So I think it's ended up being a very unique situation of all, you know, postseason sports, the way that system's set up there, and how you could go to that and get knocked out, and if you don't go, you're in.
All right, that was a little bit longer cut, but that's beside, the main part is there, and what he's basically saying, you're, at least in terms of the SEC champion, you're playing for the right to have a bye, while all but one other school in your league that could be vying for an at-large spot is already off. So where's the reward? I hate that it might be coming to that, and I can assure you this is not an answer that Greg Sankey wants to hear from one of his more prominent head coaches. But nothing Lane said there, I'll be careful with the usage of the word wrong as it relates to right, but nothing he said there is like ridiculous, let's put it that way, or silly. Now, winning the Southeastern Conference Championship is still a very big deal. But I will admit, as we move towards an expanded playoff and further expansion down the line, I think Lane's point could be, does it lose its luster if you know you're going to be playing for the biggest prize? This comes back around, Elijah, to something I talked about for many, many years with Coach Tanner and the Gamecock baseball team. Only once did they win the SEC tournament. Now, they were the SEC regular season champion a couple of times. But you know what? Like, both years they won national titles, they weren't. They didn't care. Now, it's not like, SEC, whatever. No, they care deeply about where they played their games. But it didn't matter that they were the SEC champion or not. I mean, can it help you host in relation to having to go to Coastal that year in 2010? Okay, yeah. Still won. You know, that's a tough one to navigate. Winning the SEC is still a big deal. So, and that's why you get an automatic bye, right? And you're in, because it needs to still have some weight behind it.
Hearing Lane Kiffin say that as a guy who's the coach at Ole Miss, who has played in as many SEC championship games as Vanderbilt,
right?
It reeks of loser talk to me in a way. Like, buddy, you want to go to the SEC championship game. You want to go.
That school would love to play in it, and well, yeah, because yes, they've still never been. Yes.
Like, I don't know. It feels like you're being a victim because you have to play in the SEC championship game. Like, oh, no, we have to play in the SEC championship game and have a chance to get knocked out. He says the word risk. But if I'm a coach in the SEC, I'm using the word opportunity.
Sure.
Because that's an opportunity to win a conference championship, which is a massive deal. And you don't have to worry about the SEC or the college football playoff because you're already in the second round.
Right.
Like, that's... I think there's a little bit of a overlooking of that fact. Like, look,
I think his point is if it knocks you out entirely,
but it's not going to knock anybody out.
No, it shouldn't.
No rational human is going to think you're going to get punished for being in the SEC championship game and rewarding a team that wasn't good enough to get in the SEC championship game.
I would agree.
which is why I'm just like so baffled that thought would even be a thing. Like,
but if they do hold a third loss against you in that game, like, I mean, are we going to know that the committee won't? Like, I think that's his point. I'm with you.
Like, it's just one of those things. Like,
I don't think they would.
Get in. The SEC has so much pull. This is a problem for teams like the Big 12 or conference like the Big 12, right?
Yeah.
But even then, they're going to be one bid leagues forever. So it's going to be one of those things that you have to get your conference championship and win, and they're still going to have pride in winning their conference championship. But like, this is one of the things too. You're the SEC. That's why like Kirby, complaining about, I don't know what the playoff, what their criteria is anymore. The criteria is not losing games, buddy. And you're Georgia. You are the University of Georgia. You've won 2 national titles. Your standard should be different than other people. I'm sorry that you're getting judged the same way other people have been getting judged, and that's with wins and losses.
What if they, and I threw this out to Terry and Tyler earlier, and I'll let you chew on this, and then we'll discuss it. So you don't have to answer right now, all right? Don't answer this question right now. And I'm not sure how much even I would be in favor of this. But what if the Southeastern Conference, and the Big Ten could do something too, but let's just say we're sticking with the SEC. What if the Southeastern Conference offered the winning school, in addition to all the other trappings that come with playoff implications, $5 million as the SEC champion? Just chew on that for a minute. We'll continue the drive around coming up. Welcome back. Final few minutes of the postgame show's Tuesday edition. Jay and Elijah with you. Let's see. The notion that SEC schools playing 8 conference games makes the schedule more manageable than the Big 10 or Big 12 is A, accurate, B, plausible, C, ridiculous, D, whatever, play 9 or 10, 55. So at the a late push sent ridiculous even higher at 55.1%. 17.4, play 9 or 10, 13.8 tie between accurate and plausible. So
I just have one question for that 55%.
Yeah.
Do you think it's ridiculous for Texas? I don't.
Yeah, that's the hard part. You know, even if you played 10, are you still going to have these issues? And I think that's part of the
If your
thinking.
league's so deep, then you won't. If it's as deep as you say it is, it won't.
Right. They should add games regardless.
They should.
But
You'll make more money.
going back, if you just tuned in, we played a cut that's making the rounds across college football today from Lane Kiffin's press conference. His weekly presser is on Mondays. And, again, they're going to Florida this weekend. But he didn't say, like, I don't want our team to play for the SEC championship. He did say, I've spoken to some coaches who would just as soon avoid it. How many, or whatever, I don't know. And I can appreciate, look, it's a really hard game, but it comes with a fantastic reward. And that's why I threw out, I mean, it's all about the money anyway. And look, I just came up with $5 million. I mean, if they make it $10 million. I don't know. See if Disney will throw some extra money. I don't know. But if you put a cash prize on there, like a golf tournament, I mean, look, it's cool to win the green jacket. I get it. And it's something I'll never do. It's also cool because the person that wins the green jacket every year down the road in Augusta, Georgia, also gets like $3 million.
That's pretty cool.
Plus whatever bonuses are in their like sponsor contracts and everything.
That's pretty damn cool.
It's a lot of money, man. Like, it isn't just the prestige and the old pat on the back. Augusta National gets you a big check. They just don't do the oversized novelty check like some places.
Because as we learned in semi-pro, they will not take them at a big check store.
They just
or a big check bank.
Well, it's just kind of beneath Augusta National. They're like, here's an actual check.
One that will work. This will clear.
Yeah. Actually, they might just let you go into the vault. You just count out $3 million. We'll see
Honor code, Scouts Honor.
And we'll see you next year. You're coming back for life. You might not come in this room again, but we'll see you next year.
But you can hang out here anytime.
Anytime you want to come back, you're always welcome. Now that you've won, would that matter? SEC championship? If I mean, because the coach might go, I get paid, but
The coach actually might be like,
would his AD,
or he'd be like, think about all the players you can get with $5 million. Now you can come back.
Yeah. And again, it could be $10 million. I don't care. It could be, I'll get ridiculous.
Or $2 million, like participation reward.
Yeah.
You get to you make it there. You get at least $2 million.
I'll say, like that. Like that. Here's another thing to talk about Augusta National or a lot of large tournaments. If you finish second, you didn't win. I grant you that, but you're going to get a big check.
Now, I do feel really silly having to have cash incentives for someone to want to play in their conference championship game, which is mind-blowing to me. But if that ceases the public thinking or the public comments of coaches saying might as well not play in it because it hurts our chances at the college football playoff, then you might as well.
And let me, if you will, sweeten the pot even a further notch. That $5 million, let's say, to the winning school, and let's say half that to the losing school. Say 50% of said cash prize is straight up to the roster.
Yeah.
To be split evenly amongst yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Then tell those players that this game doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. So look, again, I know some of you go like, oh my God, Jay, that's heresy. And I don't like saying it or feeling it or whatever, but I'm not naive to the changing world around us when it comes to this. And we're not going to get to a point where the National Football League starts a developmental league as much as I want them to. We are at a point where these young men are going to be paid in NIL, outside of the program, and very soon here from within the program.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we didn't even have a chance to talk about it today, not that it matters that much. State of Ohio has just passed an NIL law that will allow immediate payment from schools to athletes for NIL purposes. Immediate effect.
And it's not Ohio University.
No.
University of Ohio, that is.
So Ohio State,
Jumping up and down.
You know, now again, it's against the rules, but nobody seems to care when it comes to making NIL laws
Because they can't enforce those rules.
And I saw that Tommy Tuberville is trying to, you know, once the new session begins, he'll try to push another NIL thing. I found it somewhat ironic. He talked about don't want people breaking contracts, and I was like, brother, how many did you break?
Broke one during a recruiting visit.
Yeah, even during like a dinner. But I mean, he broke his contract for Ole Miss to go to Auburn. And look, you can put guardrails in there, but I was just like, man, you probably ought to change the wording there, sir.
It might be time to get a different messenger for this one.
But anyway, so that's out there. You know, it's a fascinating topic, but the money flowing through is going to continue to flow. All right. They're going to have to dredge the harbor and make it deeper. They're not going to shut it off. We'll see y'all tomorrow.